Hello and welcome to 5 Habits of. This is a conversation about the habits that we all need as business leaders to make our businesses brilliant. And today I am joined by the brilliant Paul. Hello, Paul. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
No worries. So today we always get into things quite quickly, but can you just give us a tiny frame of why we today are talking about the 5 habits of energy and focus?
Well, I think it's quite an important topic to talk about because we're so busy in our modern hectic lives, especially if we're parents, that we can kind of run out of energy quite quickly, or we can put sticking plasters on things to kind of get through. So I think it's worth doing a little bit of introspection and a little bit of work on.
Brilliant, cool. And you're a coach and personal trainer as well, aren't you? So that is your background, and this is where this all comes from.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So I'm a nutrition coach, health coach, and do a bit of personal training. So yeah, all these things are important to me as well. But also this is the stuff I help my clients with.
Amazing. Yeah. It's an important pillar of actually how I think how I stay productive actually is this energy and focus. So without messing around, let's get into habit number 1. What should we be thinking about?
Okay, so before I go into these, I just want to say I might be preaching to the obvious here to a lot of people, but actually getting back to basics is kind of really what's going to help. So the first one is sleep. Lots of people will bang on about this one, but getting enough sleep is really important. And I find that it can be quite hit and miss, and people don't tend to have a sort of routine and a cycle to their sleep. And our bodies actually work really well when there's a routine and there's a cycle and there's predictability, because our hormones are kind of moving around and doing things. And if we keep things in a cycle, everything sort of evens out nicely.
Nice.
So when it comes to sleep, the 3 kind of tips that I've got to share is before going to bed, have a bit of a routine. So try and wind down a little bit before your bedtime, maybe reduce the lighting, maybe try and unload a bit of stress. So a lot of people like to journal, to write, or to make some voice notes, or put something down on paper. Maybe have a warm wash or shower, because that sort of signals to the body that you're going to start to slow down. Once you're in bed, you want to have that environment set well. So it needs to be ideally dark, quiet, a cool temperature, nice and comfy, obviously. And try and remove distractions. So you want to kind of build a bit of a sanctuary in the bedroom, really. So some people like to watch TV in their bedroom and sort of doze off to that, but then that light's kind of flashing away whilst you're trying to sleep. So it's not necessarily going to give you good quality sleep. And then in the morning, try and get some light in your eyes as soon as possible. So ideally, not so good at this time of year in the UK when you open the curtains, it's still a bit dark and gloomy out there. But even just putting on a bright light gives a signal to the eyes and to the brain that sleep's finished and we're starting that rhythm into the day. Try and get some fresh air, hydrate if possible, and ideally before caffeine, and then try and move your body a little bit. So even if it's just walking around in the house, having a little bit of a stretching routine, or doing something to just trigger the body to wake up, so that we create this really nice cycle of sleep. So going to sleep and waking up and letting the body know where it's at in the day.
Yeah, nice. I like it. I like the reminder, and you say it's obvious, but it's that reminder of things that we sometimes sacrifice at the altar of efficiency or just busy family life.
Yeah,
actually the shutting down, the turning things off, the setting the scene. I know, like when I sleep, I listen to podcasts that are interesting to me but don't get my brain to think.
Okay.
So I won't listen to, yeah. So for example, I won't listen to business podcasts, but I do listen to politics podcasts, because it allows my brain to turn off from the real thinking, and then it goes off to somewhere else, and I'm just out. Don't understand it. But I know if I listen to a business podcast, I'm like, oh, this is great, and I just start making notes. Whereas if I listen to something interesting, but not that my brain will just can accept and soak through, just out like a light. So
a lot of people use like a white noise, don't they, or a brown noise for a similar thing. You can get some clocks to sort of sit next to your bed and just play, like, I don't know, an ocean sort of noise or something, and it's the same kind of effect, I expect.
Yeah. What's a brown noise? I know what a white noise is. What's a brown noise?
A brown noise is a frequency. So it's like it's not like a white noise which has kind of got a wide ranging sound to it. It's a low level frequency, like a buzz or a hum. It's a little bit different. You can find them on YouTube. They're quite interesting. I've tried doing some work with them, but that doesn't really work for me. But so I'm told a lot of people use it around bedtime as well.
Nice. Okay. Cool. And that sleep is about setting the scene. And is it, we have to think about the length of sleep as well? The duration?
Ideally, you know, and everyone will know this, you want to get between 7 to 9 hours as an adult, ideally. But you know, I tend not to I don't like to put blanket advice out there, because everybody's different. Some people can operate really well on just 5 or 6 hours. Some people need a bit more. So I think as you sort of know in yourself how much your sweet spot is. So it's trying to build your routine so that you can get what's going to work for you, and then consistently do that all the way through the week.
Right, cool, love it. Okay, that's number one.
Yeah.
What's number two?
Number two is caffeine, and it's to be careful with it. So it's a great thing. And we, you know, quite often you may have been having a coffee just before we came on air. I had one a little bit earlier. But what we need to remember with that stuff is that it is a massive stimulant, and actually overusing caffeine can lead to some pretty major crashes in terms of energy. And one of the big things to note about it, and the reason I like to bring it up as a topic of discussion, is that it's got a half-life of about 6 hours. So if you have a whacking great big serving of caffeine, so for example, if you have a can of Monster or something like that, which has got like 130 milligrams of caffeine in it, and you have that in the afternoon, by the time you're going to bed, it's still circulating in your body and trying to do its job, which is to stimulate cells and stimulate neurons and keep us awake. So it's just about being careful through the day. I'm not going to, you know, drone on about the science and the numbers that you should have, but I think it's worth monitoring and just going careful, and just, you know, maybe having set a cutoff time in the afternoon where you have your last caffeine ingestion of the day, and you let your body just kind of come down. So and that then feeds into this sleep state where you can wind down and find yourself being able to sleep a bit better.
Yeah, no, I feel that for sure. And I have quite a lot of caffeine in the morning. I have a liter cafetiere of coffee, and I sit and work through it. I slightly blame my wife for that one, because when she childminded, I was told off for interrupting the children too much. So I bought a big cafetiere of coffee, so I could put it on my desk. I would just not move. Yeah. But it gets me sort of through to about lunchtime, and then I start hitting the decaf to bring it down. So yeah, I really feel that thing about the caffeine. Cool. And I suppose it's also checking where the caffeine is, because there's caffeine in tea, isn't there, which people forget about.
There is, yeah, although much less caffeine in tea than you would typically find in your coffees. And also, you know, things even just like Coke or Coke Zero, Diet Coke, things like that, they've got an amount of caffeine in as well. And that's not really printed on the outside of the bottle. So again, it's just, being a little bit mindful really of where that caffeine might be coming from, so that you can actually keep a bit of a check on it.
Nice. Okay, brilliant. Cool. So that's number two. What is the third one we should be thinking about?
So the third one is going to be your nutrition, which is a bit obvious, but in order to use nutrition to help with your energy and focus, ideally you want to try and reduce or remove as much ultra processed or hyper processed foods as you can. So those are the foods which come in a pack. They've got a massive list of ingredients on the back, most of which you can't read or you don't even know what they are, because those things are hyper palatable, super digestible, easy for your body to transport and digest, and they don't keep you feeling full for longer. So what tends to happen is you get a bit of a surge in blood sugar, you get a bit of an energy boost from it, which feels quite nice. But then once your body has removed all that sugar from your blood, there's a hunger hormone signal straight after it, because your body kind of goes into emergency mode, just like, uh-oh, we're out of energy, give me some more. And that hunger hormone, and then our food environment is set to such a way that we can easily go and get some more. So ideally, you want to try and reduce those kind of, you know, pre-packaged, ultra-processed, hyper-palatable foods as much as you can, and then replace them with more whole foods and more quality proteins, and try and get that sort of balance right. So something I work on with my clients is that I kind of aim for sort of 75%, 80% of the time being more optimal than suboptimal, which means that in general, then we're going to be meeting our goals and having good energy through the day. So the next point to make about this is that first meal of the day as well. So a lot of people say breakfast is the most important meal of the day. I kind of agree and don't agree. I don't advocate that everyone should have breakfast traditionally in the morning. I think you should do whatever works for you. So if you want to fast or skip or whatever you want to do. But what I do think is that the very first meal of the day ideally has a high quality protein source in it, because that is going to set the tone for the rest of the day in terms of your energy and your focus. So if you think back to kind of a morning where you might just have a bowl of cereal or a croissant or some toast, and you don't really put a sort of protein source with it, those are the days when you probably, on reflection, you probably would end up eating more food for the rest of the day and fixing this blood sugar roller coaster. If you have protein at that first feeding of the day, you get far better energy distribution through the day. You'll eat less food through the day, and you'll just feel better. It sort of lifts your whole body up.
Yeah, no, I do. That resonates so much. So one of the biggest changes I've made in my nutrition was bringing protein into my breakfast. So I worked somewhere and they said, have protein in your breakfast, very similar to this. And I started eating less in the day. Like I was snacking less, like it feels better. And it's not actually that hard to do. Even if you're out at an office, you can take some eggs in a plastic thing and stick them in the microwave, and you've got scrambled eggs at the other side and things like that. It's such a simple thing to do, but so powerful.
It really is, yeah. And there's some fantastic research, especially in America, which has shown they've actually taken blood sugar readings of people that are eating protein at various intervals, and they found that if you ingest protein after about 5 minutes, that's the sweet spot. If you then eat some carbohydrates or high sugar foods, the uptake of that and the blood sugar rise is really minimal because of the protein kind of getting in the way. So, it's been shown even in clinical trials that protein is actually really beneficial in terms of your energy flow.
Perfect. Cool. So I should eat my steak, then my chips. Is that right?
Yeah, if that works for you, yeah. It might look a bit weird at the restaurant.
Yeah, I don't. Yeah, just
polish off a whole steak and then.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. Right. Stop drinking my coffee at 3. Eat my steak. Stay away chips. Right. What's the next thing I need to be doing in terms of my energy and focus?
Okay. So my next one is going to be to move more. Which might feel a little bit counterintuitive, because if you're feeling a bit tired and a bit lethargic, you might think, well, I've got no energy to move. I can't be bothered to move. But actually, moving your body creates happy hormones. It helps with digestion. It helps with moving nutrients around your body. It helps with your hormonal balance. It does a whole host of things that are really positive for your machine, for your body. And therefore, it kind of lifts your mind and lifts your focus. So actually going and doing some exercise, going for a short walk, even doing crazy hard exercise, it actually provides energy because it gets all those metabolic systems moving and going and firing, which fires your brain as well. A couple of tips on this is kind of, if you can, is just to try and fit in some exercise snacks along the way through your day. So in the morning, maybe like we spoke about earlier, if you get up and move around a bit, you could do a tiny little routine at home on the floor. You could do a bit of stretching. If you walk anywhere, try and find ways to just lengthen the walk by 5 minutes. If you're doing the school run, I do a little loop myself and go a little bit further on my school runs. At lunchtime at work, even if it's hammering down with rain outside, if you're in an office block or a building, find a route and wander up and down the stairwells, do something like that. And that's going to be enough to just make a big change. And actually, there's a side benefit that comes with that, in that you can get a bit more mental clarity in the work you're doing as well. So if you get up away from a problem, go for a walk, you might just figure it out, come back, and then you've got the answer.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I love it. Like you literally, everything that's in my head, you're like this, but I'm like, oh, this is one of the first calls I've done like this. Where I'm like, oh, I'm doing this. This is great. So I'm feeling quite good at the moment, because I do get up and go for walks, and I've mastered the art as well of finding lunches that I can put in the oven for 20 minutes, and I've got a 20-minute loop. So by the time I've done my walk, you come out, take it, and then I might sit at my desk and eat it still. But I've done a 20-minute walk and I'm eating. Yeah. But I think in terms of that, it's just that bit of planning. And for like my take on that, actually, that getting the habit of knowing what you're going to have for lunch, knowing you're going to go for a walk, and go, right, actually, well, that corner will be lined up, chuck that in, and then off we go. And it's just that little bit, isn't it, of getting your body moving. And I've got, I think, 5 different loops around my house. And I know, like, I've got 10, 20, 30. So whatever gap I've got, I know I can go do the loop and be back at a set time. So it's all a bit of my very geeky planned world.
Yeah, no, it's perfect. And, another tip that I kind of give to people often is if you can go for a walk after a meal, especially a large meal, like after evening dinner, once you've done the washing up or something, go for a little walk, then it actually aids your digestion. If you think about your body position, because you're standing up, you're going to move your core and tense your core, and that's actually going to aid digestion physically through the body. Whereas if you slouch on a sofa after eating, it's not really going to help your body do its job very effectively. So actually going for just a gentle walk after a big meal is really beneficial as well.
Yeah, love it. Okay, we're almost there. So what is fifth habit we should be thinking about?
Okay, so this one, I want you to protect your eyes and your brain. So we sit invariably and stare at one of these things, a computer screen or a monitor, for hours and hours and hours all day. And that's not great for our eyes, for our sight, and for our brain function. So there's a few things around this. A great coach that I once worked with instilled in me the 20-20-20 rule. So every 20 minutes, look at something 20 meters away for 20 seconds, which I really like, because if we stare at our screen for too long with that bright light as well, we're just focusing on something, a few inches away from us for hours. And it's not good. If you think about what our eyes are capable of doing, that's not good for them. So I quite like that 20-20-20 rule. So sort of get up, even if you're just going to go to the window and look out of the window, look at, nose at the neighbors, or, look at a tree, or watch a squirrel running around on the fence, or whatever it's going to be. But actually 20 seconds, 30 seconds, it's like a reset for your eyes and your focus. And it kind of helps again with your mind. And actually it couples in with that moving more nicely as well, because it can kind of encourage you to get out of the chair a little bit.
Yeah.
So it's really good. And then in terms of your brain, I think there's a few things around work. So this might not be necessarily that easy to instill, but trying to shorten meetings, and not have back-to-back meetings. So I know a few companies that do things like, if you've got an hour meeting in the diary, they will try and finish 10 minutes early so that everyone can actually get up and go and move to the next one, rather than, clicking end call and then go straight into another meeting. You don't give your body a break. You don't give your brain a break. You don't give your eyes a break. So I think that's really important if possible. And then I kind of like to do little sprints of work, so timed work. So, stick a timer on, say to yourself, right, I'm going to focus on this piece of work, only this piece of work, remove the other distractions, whack a timer on, and just get stuck in. And for me personally, I find that I actually get things done if I do that. If I don't have a timer, I'm sort of treading water and doing nothing in like 3 or 4 different tasks, and nothing gets done. So I think it's, having, trying to protect your time and get yourself away from the desk and the screen every now and again, and certainly to protect those eyes, so that we're not just, at the end of the day, you could be, full of headache, really struggling with the front of the head here. And I think a lot of that is down to what we do, our habits in front of the screen and looking at lights.
Yeah, for sure. Like that, spending too long looking at a screen can be a real challenge, especially now where lots of people are still working remotely. So there is no walking down the corridor to go get a coffee, walking across the office. Those natural breaks. I know there's days where I could look at a screen for 3 hours, not move. My eyes go a bit funny, but also my back be a bit stiff, not be able to stand up straight. So I think that's a real good reminder. And I personally use the Pomodoro timer, which is like, get up, go get a coffee, caffeine free after 3 p.m. and then just keep that body moving to keep it going. All right. So should we recap those 5? So habit number 1 was
sleep. Get your sleep in order.
Cool. Habit number 2,
go careful with caffeine.
Yeah. Habit number 3,
get your nutrition sorted and give yourself good quality fuel.
Brilliant. Number 4,
move more.
And the last one, number 5,
protect your eyes and your brain with little breaks.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Paul. That is brilliant. That is a great reminder to keep doing like those things for me. But the people who haven't heard it before, I absolutely implore you, do those things. They genuinely help. There are things that I'll evangelize in the group work I do. So my group programs and my coaching, it's all about how do you stay fresh and be your best person at the right points. So Paul, what are you working on at the moment? And if people wanted to find you, how would they find you?
Okay, so people can find me on my LinkedIn, which is linked from this here video, and refocuscoaching.co.uk is my website with everything going on. At the moment, I'm actually in one of I run free 5-day coaching events for dads. I call it my wellness reboot, and it's about helping dads who have maybe kind of struggled with their weight or their energy levels or their body image, and they've sort of struggled over the years. And it's to help them actually build a little bit of a plan and think a little bit differently about what their approach might be. So I'm doing that this week at the moment. And then hopefully into the new year, I'm going to be building a new group coaching program to help more people at the same time, because I really want to kind of spread that impact and that help with as many people as possible.
Very exciting. Very exciting. I love your work, Paul. Thank you so much for joining us today on the call. Thank you everyone for watching. If you've watched this and enjoyed it, you can find more of this on LinkedIn or my YouTube channel. There's also a newsletter you can sign up to. So please sign up. You get notified. So in the newsletter this week, there was a prelude telling you that you'd have been hearing from Paul today, but also recaps all the other conversations that are going on. So Paul, thank you very much. Thank you everyone for watching. Have a brilliant day.